Hello everyone. I hope your day is going infinitely better than the people in today's story. They say trust is earned, but betrayal, well, that is usually served on a silver platter. If you are looking for a little bit of chaos and a lot of justice, settle in. Let us dive straight into the fallout. I met Sarah 3 years ago. It was nothing cinematic, just two people reaching for the same awful cup of coffee at a local seminar. But from that very first conversation, she seemed utterly perfect, kind, endlessly supportive, and she possessed this uncanny ability to make me feel like I was the absolute center of her universe. I run a mid-sized logistics business. It is not glamorous work. It is spreadsheets, routing software, and late-night phone calls. But it provides a very comfortable upper-middle-class life. For a long time, I genuinely thought she loved me for who I was. I thought she respected the long hours I put in to build our future. I bought a beautiful house in the suburbs. I paid off her student loans so she could start our marriage debt-free, and I gave her the exact ring she had been dreaming of since she was a little girl. I thought I was building a sanctuary. I had no idea I was just funding a parasite. Fast forward to exactly 7 days before the wedding. The venue is locked in. The final payments to the caterers have cleared my bank account. My parents have flown in from across the country. The pressure was high, but I was happy. We were sitting in my living room. I was setting up the secure network for my new home office, and my primary monitor suddenly died. I just needed to borrow her laptop for 2 minutes, just to run a quick diagnostic test on the local drive sharing. She was in the kitchen pouring wine. I opened her laptop, and the screen woke up. She had left her desktop messaging application open. I'm not the kind of man who snoops. I respect privacy. I was moving the mouse to minimize the window, but a text block from her maid of honor, Chloe, caught my eye. Said, "Are you absolutely sure he won't notice the transfer limits when you move the funds?" My hand froze on the mouse. I stopped breathing. The silence in the room suddenly felt suffocating. I know I should have closed it. I know I should have asked her. But human instinct took over. With a shaking hand, I slowly scrolled up through their conversation history. My stomach completely dropped out. It was a visceral, physical sickness. I did not just find one message. I found months of them. Hundreds of messages, dating back to before I even proposed. They were actively planning a massive, coordinated withdrawal from all my personal and joint accounts. The very moment my name was legally bound to hers on the marriage certificate. I kept reading. It got worse. She literally referred to me as her temporary retirement fund. She made fun of my clothes, my hobbies, the way I laughed. She told Chloe that she was planning to endure the marriage for exactly 14 months, just long enough to establish a lifestyle baseline for the divorce settlement, before she filed for half of my logistics company. The entire relationship, every smile, every "I love you," was a carefully calculated, malevolent lie. I sat there, staring at the glowing screen, listening to her hum a song in the kitchen. The woman I was about to give my entire life to viewed me as nothing more than a pathetic, walking ATM. I closed the laptop exactly as I found it. I walked into the kitchen, took the glass of wine from her hand, and I smiled. Have you ever tried to smile affectionately at someone, when every fiber of your being knows they are actively trying to destroy you? It is psychological torture. But I did it. I played the part of the completely oblivious, happy while she was at a bridal fitting. I immediately drove to my corporate lawyer's office. I did not yell. I did not cry. I just handed him the printed screenshots and asked him how to financially ruin a ghost. Over the next 5 days, I initiated a quiet, ruthless protocol. With his help, I legally moved every single liquid asset I owned, my business accounts, my personal savings, into an ironclad, secure trust structure. I legally separated myself from every penny of my own wealth, leaving the joint accounts with exactly $0 And then, I prepared a little wedding gift of my own. The rehearsal dinner was agonizing. I sat next to her parents. I toasted her beauty. I paid for her extra imported floral arrangements with a credit card I knew I was canceling the next day. I watched Chloe, the maid of honor, smile at me and tell me how lucky I was. Then, the wedding day arrives. The church is packed with 200 people. The organ begins to play. The heavy wooden doors open, and she walks down the aisle. She looked like an absolute angel. A flawless, radiant angel. She stood in front of me at the altar. She looked deep into my eyes and whispered, "I can't wait to be yours." The priest begins the ceremony. He goes through the standard readings, the beautiful passages about love and patience. And then, he reaches the mandatory question. He asks if anyone present knows any reason why this couple should not be joined in holy matrimony. Usually, this is met with dead silence. Not today. That was my cue. I reached into my tuxedo pocket. I pulled out my phone. Earlier that morning, I had bypassed the DJ's equipment and connected my phone directly to the venue's central Bluetooth audio system. I looked her dead in the eyes, and I pressed play. The entire church echoed. But it was not music, it was her voice. I had spent the last 3 nights using an advanced AI voice cloning tool. I fed it voicemails she had left me, and generated a crystal clear audio track of her, reading her exact text messages to Chloe out loud. The speakers blasted her cloned voice at maximum volume. "Are you absolutely sure he won't notice the transfer limits when you move the funds? God, I cannot wait to be done with him. 14 months, Chloe. Just 14 months and I take half the company." The audio kept playing, detailing her exact plan to bleed me dry. The silence that followed was deafening. You could hear a pin drop in that massive room. I watched the color completely drain from her face. She turned the shade of a ghost. She tried to speak, but her jaw just trembled. I looked out at the crowd. Chloe looked like she was going to be physically sick. Sarah's father was standing up, his face bright red, staring at his daughter in absolute horror. My own mother had her hand over her mouth. I did not yell. I did not cause a scene. I just smiled warmly at Sarah. I reached over, gently took the bridal bouquet from her shaking hands, set it on the altar, and walked right down the center aisle. I walked out the heavy wooden doors, got into my car, and drove away. I heard later through mutual friends that the reception devolved into a screaming match between her parents and her bridesmaids. Her father refused to pay the remaining vendor balances out of pure shame. As for me, I went back to my logistics company. My assets were completely protected, and I never spoke to her again. Thank you for tuning in to the Spite Ledger. If you enjoyed this slice of absolute karma, make sure to subscribe. The world is full of betrayals, and I will be here to document every single one. See you in the next one.